Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of Empire State of Baseball. Guys, I can't believe it. This is episode 5 already. We're already 5 weeks in here. Monday, May 2nd, 2022. Again, Empire State of Baseball airing exclusively on Twitch and powered by StreamYard. Gentlemen, we got a show today, guys. What is going on in New York sports? What a wild week. So much news to talk about for both our Mets and Yankees. Any football fans out there, great draft too. But listen, right off the rip, not even an hour after last week's show, week started off with a Mets epic comeback versus the Cardinals. Fast forward, combined no-hitter on Friday night. Take it to even this morning with the Mets, cutting Robinson Cano, the Buck Showalter suspension for 1 game, again, just minutes before the show here. And the New York Yankees haven't lost a game since we last met last week. Wow, what a ride. Joe, what are your thoughts here coming into tonight?
It's been a wild week, one of the better weeks in New York sports that you can remember in recent years. There hasn't been a lot to root for, especially in the football side of things. But we're talking about baseball today. I can't remember a better week combined from the Mets and Yankees. Basically, since I've been watching baseball, the Yankees are on a 9-game win streak. The Mets have won every series this year, including having the no-hitter, having a baseball brawl the day after our last episode, and not to mention the suspension, the cut-in of Robinson Cano. So it is a wild week for New York sports. So we got a lot to talk about, and I am excited.
And how about the sheer fact that both New York teams in baseball right now are the best teams in their respective leagues? Wild week for New York baseball. Tom, how you feeling about these Yankees?
Feeling good, but I just kind of want to say, Joe, Corey, congrats on Mets' first career, ever franchise no-hitter. Truly an amazing accomplishment. It's crazy with the history of such amazing pitchers in the Mets, the Mets litany that this is the first no-hitter. So congratulations, a lot of fun, a lot of excitement. I believe someone has given up a hit before in another game, Mr. Santana. So that's awesome, though. It was a lot of fun. I think, in all seriousness, I think it's kind of BS, the people that say like it's not a real no-hitter. I know even former Met great Jerry Blevins came out and said he just doesn't kind of care about combined no-hitters, and they're not as special, which they're probably not as special, but I do think it's a great accomplishment.
Listen, for the Mets, it's special. For some other teams,
you always remember your first. Yeah, it's special.
Funny, but we don't get to see this very often. The thing about it is it a no-hitter? Yes, it is. Is it as special of a no-hitter? The answer is no to that. No-hitters are about individual achievement as much as they are a team. For me, it's a little less exciting. We were kind of sitting there watching the game. We kind of sat there and we're like, wait a second, they got a no-hitter going. They're on the 4th pitcher. It was a weird feeling. It didn't have that tension and that suspense that I think if the starter was there into the 7th, into the 8th, into the 9th, everyone is on the edge of your seat. When your starter's out after 5 and 3 middle relievers have led it to your closer, for me, there's a little bit less of a feeling. I remember being there for, being on my couch for Yoan Santana's. I felt more engaged with that one than I did with this one. So it counts, but I think it's a little less than a starter trying to do it all themselves.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I was loving it.
Sorry, Corey.
No, go ahead. No, I was just going to say, listen, I loved it. I know, talk about the Yoan one. I probably a little more on the edge of the seat just because of the hype that it never happened before. But watching that game on Friday night, we turned that thing on. Actually, Joe and I were in Pennsylvania, so we're watching it in the Phillies' home state as well. It was great to see it. Diaz on the money. That might have been the best I've ever seen Diaz, as actually Mark Cano hits a home run right now to make it 2-0 Mets deep drive to left
Why
field. But
Oh,
what?
David Torres
David
hit a
Torres hit a
2-run
two-run
Oh,
home
there
run.
you go. Look at that.
There we
But
go.
yeah, what a weekend! What a week! Forget about a weekend. What a week! I mean, Rich. I mean, so much going on right now, man.
There is so much going on. I'll make one final note on the combined no-hitter and we'll move forward. Just seeing the combined no-hitter, and yeah, absolutely. It's legit. Do you get that excitement? As Joe just said, no, not when you get a single no-hitter done. But is this kind of more of like what the norm is probably going to be for these sort of accomplishments moving forward, the way pitchers are handled by managers? I think this might just be how it is, and we have to cherish a combined no-hitter, no matter how many pitchers are used in a game. It's just, I feel like this is going to be more of the norm, guys. With a lot of these accomplishments, you just don't see pitchers throwing those complete game shutouts and not allowing a hit. And more of that is that sole no-hitter, like the traditional no-hitter, is now going to start becoming more of an even more rarer accomplishment than before. So cool stuff on the Mets end. Cool to see Joelle Rodriguez a part of that.
I was just about to say, how about Joelle Rodriguez's name etched in the history books now?
See, look, that trade paid dividends already. We got Miguel Castro, who's been solid. Rodriguez is part of a no-hitter. That's fantastic.
And Rodriguez has actually been doing okay. I mean, the ERA numbers don't look pretty for a bad outing or two, but he's been okay. But yeah, we got a lot to cover, so let's keep it rolling, guys.
Let's keep it rolling. But Joe, while we're keeping it rolling, I know we have a few viewers now. Well, what's the best way for our viewers to check out tonight's show?
Best way is download the Twitch app and subscribe to Empire State of Baseball. Our link is in our Twitter bio. You can follow there and get the notification when we go live. You can also watch past episodes on Twitch as well.
Yes, sir. That's it. So thank you guys for tuning in once again here on Twitch. Hopefully we have a lot of good commentary going on. Obviously a lot of Mets topics, and it's not often for us to keep it going with the Queen's Gambit, but there's just so much happening in Mets land. And I guess we'll move on to our next bit here and talk on the suspension, which was just announced not too long ago for Major League Baseball, suspending Buck Showalter. I believe it's for tonight's game, for 1-game suspension following the hit by pitch or the throwing at Kyle Schwarber on Sunday's game. And Yoan Lopez, who of course threw the pitch, suspended for 3 games. I guess we'll toss it over to Corey and Joe here, guys. How are we feeling in Mets land after this piece of news just came out?
Yeah, it's frustrating as a Met fan to see something like this happen. The Mets have been hit more than any other team in the league. We touched on it briefly, but they had a benches clearing brawl with the Cardinals last week after several Mets had gotten hit by a pitch, including Alonso being hit in the head. The Mets brought in a rookie or a first-time pitcher for them in Yoan Lopez, who threw up and into Arenado, and Arenado, in typical Arenado fashion, overreacted, went ballistic, and started a benches clearing fight against them. So the Mets are starting to become very frustrated with this, as they should be. They feel like they have not in turn been protected. So in this go around, what happened last night, again, another Met got hit. I think it was Lindor got hit right above the knee. Game was in hand. Yoan Lopez again comes in for the 9th inning, throws 2 inside to Carl Schwarber. Neither of them above the belt. One was at the feet, and the other one was inside around thigh high. MLB, I guess, deemed that was intentional, which it probably was. It probably was, but at the end of the day, he did not hit them. The umpires issued warnings. And to me, it was hard to prove, especially because he walked the next batter anyway. So he was getting a little erratic at the end of that 9th inning. And Schwarber had a big day too, so that might have played into it. But baseball's stepping in now and suspending Buck Showalter and Yoan Lopez for not even hitting a guy when not 1, not 2, but 3 Mets have taken balls off the head at the plate this year. And we have been
Joe,
hit.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but I think we all know, we've talked about this a few times this year. we don't think any of the Mets that got hit have been on purpose. Now, granted, a lot of them have been scary. So the guys have been hit in the head. There's been some guys kind of hit other up and in, but none of it we believe has been intentional. Just been for trying to pitch inside, and balls getting away, especially with pitchers having less grip on the ball. What happened last night was intentional. What happened to Arenado? They were throwing up and in at him. I'm not saying the Mets have no right to be frustrated. I'd be frustrated too, but those two instances, the Mets were absolutely throwing at people, or at least trying to get up and in, not just to get them off the plate, to throw up and in at them. So I understand the optics of it. Mets have been hit, I think, isn't it something like 15 times this year? Something
20.
Crazy.
20. Tom, to be fair, that Arenado reaction was over the top. It was an upstairs pitch. It wasn't an up and in pitch. It was very similar to the reaction for throwing it way back to when Manny had that upstairs.
Yeah.
Pitch
I think the one that Arenado was a little closer, and I think it was a bit of a message pitch. That one not as much. The last night was, again, it was intentional. It's crappy how it works out that way, that the Mets been hit 20 times and they throw, kind of in on people and nothing happens. But you could see where one's intentional, one's not.
But again, that's not the point. The Mets at this point feel like they have been used as human target practice. Whether
we know they haven't been.
I understand, but whether intentional or not, they are getting hit at almost double the national average of any other team in the league. And for the Mets, it's frustrating. And once upon a time, this kind of stuff didn't happen because simply hitting a player on accident would warrant the opposing pitcher to throw at the guy in the next inning. The Mets have now started to say, hey, we are not going to take this. And whether intentional or not, if you hurt or you can't control your pitches or you hit one of our guys, we are going to respond in a way that says, okay, if you're not in control,
and that's fair. But then you have to own the we did this on purpose, and you have to own the suspension of it. That's what it is.
The frustrating part as a Met fan is MLB is only stepping into action against us when all we're doing is trying to defend our players properly.
Because no one has done it on purpose against them. Like no one, we've said it last week. We think no one was throwing at Mets to hit them on purpose. That's the difference. And I know the optics are bad of it, but that is a difference. And if you're going to defend your players, which you should, you own it. You have to own that. Buck knew when he told him to go hit those guys that he was going to suspend, and he's fine with it.
But baseball is making a mistake by doing it, because if you take away the Mets' ability to defend themselves, teams are not going to change what's going on. The part of being able to retaliate is a deterrent to other teams. You put pitchers who have control in there. Otherwise, if they accidentally hurt a Mets player, there is always the threat of the Mets doing it back to you and one of your star players getting hurt. That's what part of police in the game is supposed to be. This is why we don't take fighting out of hockey, because if you have a cheap shot, you have to get back on the ice.
Let's not compare hockey.
But it's the same concept. You have to be able to police your own sport. And when we have this rampant problem of pitchers not being able to pitch inside effectively without threat of their own players receiving a retaliation, that's a problem. There is no incentive for any pitcher to learn how to control their stuff. And I think that's a problem. And MLB sent the wrong message in suspending the Mets when they didn't even hit somebody. I'm sorry. That's the wrong message to send.
Yeah, I think I just want to bring up three separate points regarding the whole issue right now with the hit by pitchers. One, I think the only reason Buck is suspended is because they publicly criticized the league over the course of the last week. Chris Bassett kind of driving that charge, and Chris Bassett on the mound tonight for the Mets in a 2-1 game.
I agree with Bassett. That's a lot of the problem. Pitchers don't have the. I know we went so far from the illegal sticky stuff to the pitchers can't have anything to get a grip, and that's what has led to a lot of these issues. But go on, Card.
Yeah, no, I think so, in a way they do have to bridge the gap. I like the idea that Bassett brought up of, and it's been a wide topic for conversation. if rather than just banning something completely across the board, make a universal substance that every team could use, whether it's a certain type of rosin bag or you do something with the ball, something universal. I think at the same time, on the flip side, if you can't control a 95-mile-per-hour fastball with its grip, don't throw a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. Part of the game is you're supposed to control your pitches. You're supposed to control the strike zone as a pitcher. If you can't hit the strike zone because you're throwing too hard, don't throw that hard. So that's one point. And I just want to bring up one last thing.
They don't teach that anymore.
They don't teach that anymore.
What do you guys think of this? I had an idea about this. I had an idea about this week. What would you guys think about some kind of a rule that after probably 2, maybe 1 hit batsman, a hit by pitch results in the runner going to second? To prove, hey, if you can't do this and you've hit, let's say 2 people in a game, you hit a third guy, I don't care if it's intentional or not intentional, you are proving you can't control the ball, and it's 2 bases.
I feel like that's like co-ed softball rules there, Tom. I don't know.
I think
like,
it gets a little
it's been a problem because you got to do. I think you have to do something, because unless you're going to give again the pitcher some way to control the ball better, which they do need still, you have to give some other kind of deterrent. I don't think the deterrent is throwing at other people, and I get that it's old school baseball, but as hard as guys throw now and don't have as much control, I truly don't think there's anyone in the league trying to hit anyone in the head, even in retaliation. Maybe just throwing inside, want to hit him in the ribs, the butt, that's fine. But with how inaccurate they are, like, you could really get someone hurt, and that's when this all becomes, oh, I'm defending my guy, but then you have something happen, like what happened to Giancarlo Stanton in Miami, where he got his face broken. And thankfully that hasn't happened in these situations with the Mets, but we can't keep doing this. I'm going to throw at you because you threw at my guy, because someone's going to get seriously hurt, and then we're going to have
Joe, sorry, before you comment, Corey, I know, Corey, you had 2 more points to make. You only made your first point. You just throw out your 2 points out there.
Well, it was 2 that I mentioned. The first, I know I mentioned 1. The first one was Buck was only suspended because they publicly criticized the league. The second being that I agree there needs to be some sort of middle ground here with the Bassett comments. But I also want to make a note of the third point I want to bring up was Core Ryan's comment in the chat that it's a good thing they're only retaliating when the game isn't close. I know they were down big to the Cardinals. They were up big against the Phillies. And I agree with that 100% because I don't care who got hit in the dome. If it's a 1-run game in the 9th inning, I'm trying to get 1, 2, 3 in that 9th inning. I'd rather get the win and worry about retaliating another point in time than just trying to get my anger out and then blowing the game because of it. So definitely going to try to keep our anger under control at least a little bit. The game, at the end of the day, the game matters more in my mind. I just want the win. A win is big enough in my eyes to make up for hitting someone in the face. So, it is what it is. Yeah. But yeah, that's all I had to say. Continue, Joe. And Rich, I know you have.
I think again, this goes back to MLB and the analytics of the game. That you don't have to adjust to a game that is in part all about adjustments. We've seen this with hitters unable to adapt to the shift. We've seen this in organizational philosophies now when it comes to pitching. They value velocity and spin rate over control. And that's a problem in the game of baseball. You are going to see more and more people get hit, regardless of sticky stuff and all that nonsense. The philosophy of baseball now is speed and power override control. That is what gets hitters out now, not being able to locate your pitches. It doesn't matter where you throw it as long as you throw it hard.
You have to find a way to deter it then.
That's why I'm saying that's the problem. When you lose control as a pitcher and as an organization, you are bringing up pitchers that cannot control their stuff. The deterrent to that is your players are now in the line of fire.
I just think we have to get away from that. Even in the other sports that are much more physical, things that I know people don't love it as much in the NFL if they're going more for the the targeting and that kind of stuff. But listen, as guys are throwing harder, the bullpen, it's the Kevin Cash comments for me 2 years ago. I have a bullpen full of studs or whatever he said. Basically, like, I got a bunch of guys that throw 95 plus. That didn't 20 years ago. In earlier in the 70s, 80s, they didn't have a bullpens full of guys who can throw 98. It was a handful of guys in the league. There's too many of them out there that can't control their stuff, and someone's going to hit in the head, and someone's going to get seriously hurt, and we're all going to look like idiots by saying, oh, this is just how it is. This is baseball. That's not baseball.
Well, to piggyback off Tom's point right there, Joe and Corey, do you think Billy Epler just brought in Yoan Lopez to just purely be the enforcer of this team? Because this is now the second time he's been tasked to throw at a batter, and I'm loving it.
Listen, I love it, man. If you're going to hire a hitman, that's it. He did his job, and now he's banished to AAA, suspended. I'm cool with it. Listen, it is what it is.
Listen, I mean, it's always
Better
been
bought
like
him a nice
that.
dinner.
It's either your top ace, who either has to do it, or it's the 26th guy on the roster. I mean, that's always how it's been. And for a young kid, that's what endears you to the team moving forward is backing up your guys. So,
all right. So as part of our 3-part Queens Gambit, because there's a lot happening in Queens right now, we'll throw it to our next topic. But I did have a comment to segue into that from Even Steven 6_. Nice to see the Mets doing the right thing, whether on Cano or protecting their players finally. And of course, he's referring to Robinson Cano being DFA'd today. That was this AM. Wasn't even supposed to be an original topic to cover. But we did talk about Robbie last week on the show and what the Mets would possibly do with him with the roster size reducing. We were talking about the possibility of a DFA, a straight release, going back to the Yankees in September. We covered it all. And it's on our YouTube page, which you can check out later on after the show, of course. But Robinson Cano ended up being DFA'd, $40.5 million on the books that Stevie Cohen's just going to, just write off. So
that's
just
a write-off.
So sick. Just so sick. But yes, Cano DFA'd from the Mets. Joe, what are your thoughts?
Listen, it had to be done. The Mets have given him a month to get going. He's been unable to do so. He does not look like the same player. I think it was about 195 with 1 home run. That was his only extra base hit. He just does not seem like he can be an effective major league ball player at this particular point in the season. Yes, he did bring leadership qualities to this team. Yes, there is still respect for him in the league. But when you're 39 years old, this team is in first place and you are a redundant spot on the roster, you must produce to keep your job. And a 2-time steroid suspended user. You do not get the benefit of the doubt at 39 years old. And the richest owner in sports, the story leaked out that Epler talked to Cohen, told him, what this meant or what the options were. And Cohen said, do the baseball move, which everyone in the sport should love, that an owner is willing, regardless of the price tag, to do what is best for the team. And right now, what's best for the team is Cano being DFA'd. Listen, maybe he takes the minor league assignment. Maybe barring injury, he comes back. But for right now, the Mets did the right thing. Cano will no longer be there, and the Mets needed to keep guys like Travis Jankowski, Dom Smith, and Luis Guillorme. They need to be on this roster because they add a lot more to this game than Robinson Cano does right now.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And going back to last week's segment, I did say I thought they were going to hold on to Cano at least until the summer. And part of it is it's still accepting that we're in a completely different culture with this Mets team, because the Wilpon era, we would have ridden out Cano, and not only wrote him out, he would have played every day he physically could play just to juice every dollar we got out of him. From
hitting 3 too.
Yeah, exactly. So from a pure baseball standpoint, it was the right move, because I love what Janikowski brings to this team as a 5th outfielder, get you some speed off the bench. Dom Smith, I think, is going to get much more playing time now as a DH. I also love him when he's at first base also, and get Peter Blow and let him DH. So it's great to see him get some more time. But listen, it was a move they had to make. A move they would not have made with the Wilpon era. And I personally think a AAA assignment would be great for him, because you never know. Things might happen. McNeil maybe rolls over an ankle. Things happen during the season. Let Cano get full playing time. Let him play 6 out of 7 days if he's physically able to in AAA. Get some at-bats. And maybe he comes up at the end of the year. It's not a bad September call-up. I know there's only a few call-ups now at the end of the year. Not a bad guy to call up if you want to lead her off the bench late in the season. But listen, 99% of Met fans, are on 100% agreement with what happened. The only Met fan I know, Jay Hertz 1222 in the chat, huge Cano supporter. He's upset to see him go, but he might be the only one.
Yeah,
listen, I think
enough.
with go on, Rich.
No, I actually was going to toss it over to you, Tom, because
Sure.
last week on the show, we were talking about all the possibilities with Cano. What are your comments on this, and where do you see Robbie Cano ending up?
Yeah, so I think this is actually probably one of the biggest stories for the Mets this week, and I think it's a scary story for the other 29 teams that Steve Cohen is willing to light $40 million on fire.
Send it to the wood chipper, baby.
He just like that. Be like, listen, you pay a lot of money for Scherzer, but Scherzer is a top 5 pitcher in baseball. You're getting value out of that. He just threw $40 million away, and whether baseball wise, I agree. He did make the most sense to be cut and released, but it's a lot of money, and I really do think that the other 29 owners, they had been worried. They talked about the Cohen tax being that third threshold. I do think this could cause some ripples. Honestly, no, I really do. I think I think what we saw this offseason with the CBA was the players were rallying around the service time manipulation. They were rallying around getting the middle class of baseball players. We know that's not what they really are, but the baseball's middle class, getting them paid more, and the younger guys paid more. The owners, I felt like, didn't really have a thing. They were just like, yeah, we just kind of want to keep screwing the players and do what we need to do to make money. I think what Steve Cohen's doing now, when we get to the next CBA, they're gonna want to do something to not allow this, because he is playing in a different league and he is well within his right to do so. I'm not saying he's doing anything wrong, but the other owners have to hate this. He is making a mockery of them. And to, again, not saying he did anything wrong. If he had the money to spend and pay $40 million to make a problem go away, do it. But
Tom, are you about to get just crushed in the comments right now? Just to remind you that George Steinbrenner and the Steinbrenner family owns the Yankees and just spent frivolously for over 30 some odd years.
I don't think George
money they wanted to.
I don't think to that level though. I mean, I
already see one. Look at that.
Listen, I'm not saying he's doing anything wrong, guys. Like please understand that. He's not doing anything wrong. But Steinbrenner didn't. I don't think he would do something. $40 million is a ton of money.
It's the same guy who banished Kei Igawa from his site for 3 years of a contract.
Mm-hmm.
Listen.
I'm not saying anything wrong that he's doing anything wrong or anything like that. It's just I think the owners are gonna. I think that move raised some eyebrows today.
Well, listen, it puts the rest of the league on notice.
Do we really want this? And then I know there was even a lot of concern when Cohen bought the Mets. They have how much more money he had than everyone else, and did they even want to let him into the club? But he might be the only one that gets admitted with that bank account moving forward, because I think it does make everyone else look bad because he's willing to do it, which is great. He wants to win.
I mean, he just burned more money than the Orioles have on their payroll. So
yeah.
I'll make this point on Cano, and it was Raj, you stole my point, but I'm just going to steal yours right back. Where do I think Robinson Cano is going to end up? Last week I made the point, hey, maybe down the line, September call-ups, you got to extend the roster a little bit more. Maybe have Cano back on a one-day contract. One more day in pinch.
The Yankees aren't good. Yankees aren't doing something like that this year.
I take it back because there's a better team in New York that can use a guy like that services. They play in the same ballpark this man used to play when he was a Staten Island Yankee. Had his number retired at Richmond County Bank Ballpark. Robinson Cano is going to be a Staten Island Ferry Hawk by season's end. Tips prices galore. I love it. Liven up Bay Street. I'm all for it. Cano's and the Ferry Hawks. When they supposed to have that big fucking wheel and they tear it down, they have the ferry, they have drugs, and they're going to have Robbie Cano leading the charge. I'm all for it.
I do think he's gonna, in all seriousness, gonna get picked up by someone. He is a lefty bat. Whole league has a DH now. If a team is looking for that to take a flyer on him, they're not paying him $20 million this year to do it. They're gonna pay him league minimum or whatever it is. I do think he'll get at least one more shot out there because he's a lefty and he's proven bat, even though he's been not good this year.
And about 15 more offensive jobs opened up in the
Yeah.
National League this year. Of course, some of them are already locked up, but Cano does have a shot to stick on with the team. A better shot that he had about a year ago. So we'll see what happens with Robbie Cano. Any other final comments on
Listen,
Mr. Cano?
The Mets are proven, and Cohen is proven, exactly what he said. I'm in this to win. He will spend whatever it takes to win. He will make the hard decisions that are about winning and nothing else. The money does not scare him. And the owners in this past lockout did not have a big enough deterrent added to the CBA to deter him. He will spend $500 million a year if it means winning, and that's beyond anything else. Even George spent, but George always had his ego kind of involved with that, and as much as George spent,
I don't know what you think about owning a baseball team and essentially playing fantasy baseball is not an ego thing. All owners of baseball have massive egos.
But George, it was almost personal with Steinbrenner. He almost brought too much personality. I mean, all the stuff with Reggie Jackson, all the stuff, shipping out David Justice and paying half his salary. George kind of match that spending with the fact that he would send guys to Antarctica if they didn't perform correctly. So he spent a lot, but he also shipped a lot of guys out like that. Whereas Cohen, I don't think it's about personality. I don't think it's about his ego trip. I think he wants one thing and one thing only, to win. And he's going to have the guys who are running the baseball operations do that for him. And he's just going to basically write out blank checks, because that's, and it's great to see that the fact that, he's able to do that. I think it's good for the game. And you know what? You might be right. It might, Junior Yankee 63 might be right. It might lead to a salary cap, but that might be in 5 years, because it's not that's how long this agreement's going to last. And he's going to go wild for until that time.
Listen, adapt or die. At the end of the day, if you can't afford to be an owner, sell the team. I agree with you right there on that. And also, JR Yankee 63, I 100% agree. I think there should be a salary cap floor as well as a ceiling. Maybe hold off on the ceiling for another 15, 20 years while Cohen runs the show, though.
And we'll go off on another 15, 20 minutes talking about a salary cap in baseball, but we do have to move forward. And you can make sure to follow us on Twitter. We do have 4 handles, and one of which actually changed as of today. Thanks, Tom. Make sure to follow us
last week.
PSB Podcast at G Gory, that's Corey Faz's, at JR Pugs, at Rich J Rivera, that's yours truly, and at T Wospil. Tom had to make my life difficult today, so I had to change everything from his old Twitter account to now this one. T Wospil.
I live to just ruin your life. I might change it next week to Rich Blows. I don't know. Something like that.
Change out the co-host.
Rich Blows 69, I think, could be the new Twitter next
the
week.
Wospil Gospel.
Wospil. You know what? That has some headway for a new segment here on this show.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Thank you, Corey, for that. All right, let's toss it over to M Took 45 for Chooch's games of the week.
What's up, BSB crew? It's Chooch here, and Chooch is back with the games of the week. This week, Chooch is circling back to New York, but this time they're playing in Toronto. Yankees versus the Blue Jays. All players are vaxxed. Big-time players versus big-time players on both sides. The winner of this series will take control of the American League East. I'm going with the Yankees, of course. Who do you guys got?
All right. Well, Matt, with obviously a hometown pick there, Yankees and Jays currently knotted at 2 here in Toronto. Of course, the Yankees revealed their lineup today, and it seems like everybody is good on the vaccination end. Obviously, there was some concern of who was and who wasn't vaccinated going into Toronto. I think it's all ridiculous, by the way, just to get vaccinated to play in an outdoor ballpark. But that's another topic, unless you guys really want to get into it. But what is your pick for, I guess, the series of the week here between the Yankees
indoor,
and
outdoor? They have a retractable roof. We talked about that a couple weeks ago.
I always thought it was a dome.
No, it's retractable. Listen, the Yankees are vaxxed, waxed, and ready to hit jacks. Like we're ready to go.
Stupid. Oh man,
you
you are
go.
going to be a dad soon, aren't you? Oh man, that's great.
Oh boy. Well, anyway, I do agree with Chooch with the series of the week. I mean, that's going to be a great one. You got the two best teams, in my opinion, in the American League right now. I'm going to disagree with the pick, though, because Yankees coming off a 9-game win streak. I think I'm going to go Blue Jays 2 out of 3, really just because it's hard to win that many games in a row. You're going to lose some games eventually. Blue Jays are a great team. I'm going to go 2-3. 2 out of 3 for the Blue Jays for this series.
Yeah, I'm going to go Blue Jays on this one. I think the Blue Jays coming into this have the advantage. Even though the Yankees are on a hot streak, the Blue Jays are more battle tested at this point. They've played 6 games against Houston. They've played 7 games against Boston coming in. The Yankees have basically had a cupcake schedule for the better part of 3 weeks now.
I don't know what you want them to do. You play the teams that are on their schedule. They're supposed to open.
I'm just saying
it's just dumb. I don't.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
Just the dumbest thing that's been going on Twitter all week. Like some of the reason these teams have bad records, they played 20 games this year because they played the Yankees. Like, what do you want?
Yeah, but come on, you guys know that Detroit, Cleveland, Baltimore, and Kansas City are cupcake team. I mean, they've
played the Jays, they've played the Red Sox. The Detroit is better this year. They had some injuries going into it. Cleveland was good going into that series. I'm not saying they played the great. I'm not saying they played. They're
all
the
under
greatest
500. I mean, there's several
because
games
they've also got swept by the Yankees. That doesn't
listen.
Doesn't help.
But the Yankees have had the benefit. Now they have a 3-game set with Toronto. Then they get another cupcake in there with Texas before they get Toronto and Chicago again. But that's not the same level of competition. The O's, the Royals, and the Tigers is not the same as going Boston, Houston in the last 12 to 14 games. That's a little bit different, and these games are within a game. These teams are within a game of each other. So my thing is, I think right now the Blue Jays are playing better because their strength of schedule has been better, and they're right there keeping pace with the Yankees. So that's why I'm going the Blue Jays.
And listen, at the end of the day, we can talk all day about bad teams, good teams. I'd rather be 9-0 versus bad teams than be happy that I split with some good teams. So at the end of the day, a win's a win.
At the end of the day, this is what the Yankees have to do, and this is the struggle they've had over the last couple of years. They could not beat the bad teams. They could not put the bad teams away.
These are the teams you lost to last year.
That's exactly. Absolutely.
You lost series to these teams last year.
You lost series, and you costed yourselves games midway that you led against these teams that you needed to beat. The Yankees did what they had to do. Now, against Toronto, after facing a Kansas City Royals, after facing the Cleveland Guardians, after facing the Baltimore Orioles in Toronto, I got Jays in this one. Of course, Alek Manoah, who's been outstanding this year, is starting in one of the games. I just feel like that is just an edge Toronto, and Manoah has also put up great numbers against the Yankees this year. Kikuchi against Cortez, I feel like that could be the game that the Yankees could absolutely play. Obviously, they're facing Ross Stripling now, and I feel good about that, but I think this time around, Toronto's got the Yankees in this one, 2 games out of 3, and I'm hoping I'm fucking wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm there as well. The Yankees Yankees. Listen, my point is that the whole cupcake schedule thing is stupid.
Well, it's true. It's true. When
the issue with this series with the Jays right now, Yankees are also throwing 2 lefties in 3 games against a predominantly right-hitting, power-hitting team. Monty holding his own so far today, 2-2 in the bottom of the 5th. Nestor has been amazing, but it's a scary lineup for someone to go against as a lefty. So yeah, I do see if the Yankees listen, if they can win the series 2-1, that would be amazing. If they lose one, if they lose 2 out of 3, I'm not going to be upset about it. Again, they're coming off the 9-game winning streak. Yeah, it wasn't going to last forever. But I'd like it to keep going. It'd be nice.
All right. Well, there you have it. Chooch's games of the week, once again, going with another series here. Tom, I'll toss it right back to you. We got a lot of good content up on the YouTube page. How could our fans...
Sure do, Richard. Yeah, so full episodes of Empire State of Baseball, as well as many clips from the show, are available on our YouTube page. Make sure to check us out there. Like, share, subscribe. And yeah, check us out.
Love it. Absolutely. And let's keep the Yankees momentum going. Obviously, our segment called The Bronx is Burning, but is it? I mean, the Yankees are doing very well. They've, like we mentioned before, been beating up on some very, very bad teams, as they should. But questions are being thrown around. And you look at the power rankings that are being put out by writers in baseball that have the Yankees towards the top 3, some of which have them in the number 1 spot. They do have the best record in the American League. But are we calling this one way too early here, boys? Or are the Yankees truly just the best team in the American League?
Oh, listen, the Bronx is burning, and it's for a reason, because New York is on fire. The teams are red hot right now, both teams, and the Yankees especially. I mean, listen, again, I don't care if it's a bad team. You win 9 in a row. You won 9 in a row. I mean, it's hard to win 9 straight games despite who you're playing. So Yankees red hot right now. Are they the best team in the American League? I don't know if I'm ready to make that statement yet. I still think the Blue Jays are a hot team, but maybe they prove me wrong this week. If they go ahead and sweep this series, now you're talking 12 in a row and throw the Blue Jays on top. Oh, you're damn straight. They're the number 1 in baseball.
Yeah, listen, at this moment, are they the best team in baseball? Yeah, they are at this moment, but we are, 20 games into the season. There's a lot of baseball to be played. There's a lot of interdivision games to be played. And we'll see where it shakes out. The one thing that is encouraging is a lot of what we struggled with and frustrated Yankee fans last year seems to be getting better. They are doing little things. They're moving runners over, sack flies. They're not making a ton of outs in the base paths. Pitching's still been good. They're not been home run or bust. They do look like a good team. I do think this looks like a playoff team at this point. Beginning of the season, I know, Rich and I did not feel super confident about a lot of our guys.
Not one bit.
I do feel a lot better about them. Toronto is a test, in Toronto. The fans there are always crazy. We'll see how they handle it. And they do have some other testers coming up, see where they are. But listen, wins are wins. They all count the same. I think really a team's goal is you beat up on the bad teams, you play 500 against the good teams, and you win 90 plus games. That's the formula right there.
Another question you can ask, and I'll get your reaction, guys, on this as well. Are the Yankees truly a better team, or did the rest of the American League just get that much worse? I mean, you see the records across the board, and you kind of get disappointed at seeing these teams. And it's actually kind of funny to see who are the leaderboards and kind of getting those mid to late 2000s vibes, seeing like the Yankees, the Twins, the Angels at the top of the leaderboard. So is it just maybe are we looking at a pitiful American League, or are the Yankees just doing what they have to do?
I think the AL has really kind of come back from where it was in recent years. The last few years, you had the Yankees, the Red Sox, who decide to play skip along the path every decade, where they're good one year and they're bad the next year. The Astros are clearly weaker than they have been in a long time. Chicago is beat up, making that Central Division just pitiful right now.
The Central Division has been bad for years. The White Sox have had the benefit of playing.
It's a fraud.
You talk about cupcake schedules. They've had a cupcake division for half a decade.
Yeah, listen, the best teams are in the AL East this year. We're hoping that the Mariners surprise. I don't see the Angels kind of sustaining what they've been doing lately. If they're the cream of the crop out in the West, I think that is a bad sign for the rest of the league, because that's a good sign for the Yankees and Blue Jays, but that they're not a very good team in my opinion. And looking forward on the Yankee schedule, other than teams within their division in terms of Toronto and the Rays, their entire schedule is basically against sub 500 teams until June. They play 3 games at Texas. They play 7 games against Chicago, bookended by 7 games against Baltimore until they finally see the Rays and Angels come into town. That's an easy ride so far this year. So the Yankees should take advantage of this schedule. They should take advantage of the fact that Chicago's probably going to come in here, still beat up a little bit. But the AL as a whole, I would say it's the Yankees, it's Toronto. I like Toronto a little bit more. I like their staying power a little bit more, just because I don't think the offense in Toronto is as streaky and home run dependent as the Yankees are. Toronto has a lot of balance. They got a premier leadoff hitter. They got a lot of speed, youth, and athleticism on the base pads and in the infield. That's something I don't think that the Yankees have. Even if I'm more confident in what the Yankees have in the back end of the bullpen, so they're going to be 1-2 in the AL this year, and I don't see that changing.
I got a couple of comments here in the chat, and I'm going to toss it over to Corey here. Jay Hertz 122. The NL is the better league these days. AL is 5 teams deep, and 4 of them play in the AL East. And the Red Sox look awful. Houston is good, and winning the Central is like being the tallest midget, which is always seemed to be the case in the American League. And that's me, of course, not reading the comments before.
Yeah.
Corey, what do you got?
Yeah, listen, I mean, if you want to compare the NL versus the AL right now, I mean, listen, the NL right now is the better team. You have a lot more teams playing above 500 at the moment. I mean, you look at that NL West, every team except the Diamondbacks are over 500. Arizona themselves are only 3 under, despite them not being that great of a team. Let's be real. But I think if you look at the AL, the 2 biggest things that stick out to me are the poor performance from both of the Sox teams. I know right now, Boston, 9-14. I know you guys are loving it. Last year, without a doubt, they overachieved. Nobody expected them to have that good of a run they were last year. But this year, they not looking that good at all. I think I saw a stat there hitting like 225 as a team. They brought in Trevor Story. He's not doing that great. So things up in Boston, don't want to be shipped up there right now. And with the White Sox, they are beat up. They lost Lance Lynn just before the season started. So that's a big blow to their rotation. He was phenomenal for them last year. Eloy Jimenez blown out a hammy, recently as well. So that team's a beat up team. And the White Sox, I thought the White Sox were going to challenge the Blue Jays this year for number 1 in the American League. I still would have put my money on Toronto, most likely. But I think it was a coin flip between them and the White Sox. But listen, right now, I think whoever wins this series, whether it's the Yankees or the Blue Jays, right now, again, this could change down the line. I think that team should right now be considered the best team in baseball. Even with the Mets winning every series, have yet to lose a series. They haven't had a sweep, and the Yankees have won 9 in a row and counting.
Yeah, they have.
I would agree with that. I think whoever wins this series at least will be, looked at as the favorites in the AL at the very least.
Especially if there's a sweep.
One thing that
then best team in baseball, then you're saying yes.
One thing that I would be nervous about with the Yankees, at least moving forward to the All-Star break, is the Yankees' first half schedule is much easier than Toronto's. Toronto plays Baltimore 15 times in the second half of the season. The Yankees only play Baltimore 6 times. So the Yankees need to get off to a hot start, which they have been, but they need to put more than a game's distance between them and the Blue Jays by the All-Star break, because the Blue Jays are going to be able to make up a lot of ground while the Yankees have a tougher second half schedule than the Blue Jays do.
I mean, it certainly looks like that right now, but it is also, 20 games into the season. The Orioles are going to be bad because they're just a bad team, but there could be some teams on either schedule that you think right now is either a tough game or an easy game, and come July, teams can be completely different. It could be injuries, trades, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So you really don't know. Look at last year. If you would have looked at the schedule last year, you would think a team like the Twins are you have to worry about them because the Twins, they have so much talent, and they were horrible. So you really never know. Looking ahead, other than your Orioles, your Pirates, your real bottom feeders.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And I would tell you right now, I think the top 3 teams in baseball right now, and you can put them in any order you want. AL, it's the Yankees, it's the Blue Jays, and the NL, I'm going with the Mets. Those are going to be my top 3 teams right now. I know most people I've been reading still put the Dodgers first, and you kind of have to, considering the success that they've consistently had over the last 5 years, always running train in the National League. But I'm going to put the Dodgers number 4 right now on my top 5 list. I'm going with Both New York teams and the Blue Jays. Top
Hell,
three.
love that. Love that stuff. Corey, let's we're gonna go into our final bit in a little bit, but let's wrap this out with a quick follow spot here on ESP.
Most definitely. Listen, everyone, I know you love to follow us, but Monday nights, they come and go. So if you want to follow us consistently throughout the week, I'm going to tell you right now where to go. On Instagram, at Empire State of Baseball. Again, that is at Empire State of Baseball on Instagram. We are also on Twitter, where you could join us in all of the action throughout the week. We are live tweeting all the events as they're going down. That is at ESB Podcast on Twitter. Again, at at ESB Podcast on Twitter. And again, don't forget to subscribe on Twitch and YouTube to continue to watch all of the segments that you love. And speaking of segments you love, we have a new one that we hope you love. The Trick of the Trade. Again, Trick of the Trade. This is a brand new segment we're bringing you today. Myself and Rich for this week have each drafted a trade. One by the Mets, one by the Yankees. The objective of this, and please feel free to join us in the chat, is to guess who is the player that is missing from this trade. So, Rich, why don't you pull up one of the trades for us?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know what? We'll start it with Corey's trade here on the Mets end. So I'll just kick it right back to you, sir.
All right. Thanks again, Rich. So, again, point of the trade is to find out who is that missing player. So I'm going to do a throwback trade here. This was a pretty franchise alternate changing trade here for the Mets back in 2005 in that quote-unquote new era Mets. November 25th, 2005, the Mets acquired Carlos Delgado, who had a great few years with the Mets, also in that mid-2000s team. They traded across to the Marlins, used Miro Pettit, Grant Posmus, and there was one player listed as unknown in here. Who is that player? Joe, I'm going to start with you or anyone. Feel free to guess.
Well, I'm a Met fan, so I have an advantage. So let's kick it to the Yankee fans first.
I think I know who it is too. I feel pretty confident in it, and I do see a couple comments in the chat confirming it. Tom,
I think I have no idea.
All right, all right.
I'm gonna hide the chat though.
Okay,
Yeah,
I like
you're
that.
gonna hide the chat. Tom, do you want to take a guess before?
Oh, honestly, no. I really like. I have no idea who
this guy was mentioned in our group chat earlier today, Rich. So
since
yes,
I think Rich and Joe both know who it is, and the chat does have the right answer, I'm going to give you maybe a hint, Tom, if you want to take a stab at it. This is a guy did not have a long career, but did have
another one of these guys.
No, but it was a decent name at a point. He did have a 32 home run season, I believe, in 2007, I want to say. He also had 2 stints with the New York Mets.
And he's not Lenny Harris.
Yeah, I mean, Lenny Harris is who I was thinking. Man.
Every answer to every segment we're going to do is Lenny Harris.
Lenny Harris.
He was an absolute butcher in the field.
Left-handed hitter.
But he...
I mean, you're really. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. You guys just really aren't helping at all here.
Wow.
When you said 2-time, I was thinking like, is a lighter in that? But that wouldn't make sense. I know. All
right, one last hint. He came up. He made his rookie debut with the Mets in that 2005 season. So he played.
I'm not a Mets fan. I don't know why you think I'm gonna get this. I don't care.
Well, Tom, some will say that's the trick of the trade.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess it's the trick of the trade that I don't remember the 2005 Mets.
Yep, there you go. Well, Joe, take us home. Who do we got here?
It is Mike Jacobs.
Yep, Mike Jacobs, 2-time Met, 32 home run hitter with the Marlins. He was actually a middle of the order bat with that Marlins team for a couple of years.
Jacobs. Are you sure this is a real person?
Yeah, he played a few years.
I still remember watching those games in 2005. Man, when
he
came up with the Mets, he hit 315. He had 11 home runs in like 20 games. Dude was
an awful fielder. I mean,
like anyone want to guess what Mike Jacobs' career WAR is?
It's bad.
Probably like -10.
Still better.
-2.4. Mike Jacobs.
All right, let's grab a Yankee trade here, Tom. Maybe you'll have better luck with this. Well, let's see what the Met fans got on this guy. Yankees made this trade in 2005, acquiring future Hall of Famer Randy Johnson. And in the trade, they sent Brad Halsey, Javier Vasquez, who was the centerpiece of the trade going back to Arizona, and another player, Joe or Corey. Actually, first, Tom, do you know who it is without saying it?
I might.
Okay. All right. Joe, Corey, do you guys feel confident with the guess here?
Off the top of my head, no, but I'll tell you what, I love that we're going back to this 05 era. That one of my
I know, man.
favorite times as a baseball fan growing
Yeah,
up.
the best video game ever came out that year.
Oh, yeah, MVP baseball, baby. Raj in the chat called it out 100%.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I've made this exact trade. MVP baseball 2004. I remember it vividly. I made this trade, Randy Johnson for Javier Vasquez.
I love it.
Straight up in that game. So it's funny that it did happen a year later in real life.
Anything, guys?
But who is that?
I have a couple ideas.
I do have some hints, but we do have a correct, unless JR Yankee used the power of Google. We do have a correct guess in the chat. Tom, any idea? You're the Yankee fan.
Is it? I don't want to. I guess I can try to give a clue to see if I think it is. Is it a prospect? Was it a prospect? Like at the time?
So at the time, he was a farmhand of the Yankees, but he did make his season debut with the club in 2004. This guy actually became an all-star, one-time all-star, when he made his trip back to the American League East as a member of the Tampa Bay Rays.
Okay, I think I know who it is.
This man is a catcher.
I know who it is.
Well, that takes away. I was going to throw out a guess, and I know I'm wrong now because he was a reliever. I was going to say Jorge Julio because I know he was a Diamondback. He was a Diamondback for a very brief moment in that mid-2000s era. He had a stint with the Mets.
Joe, it seemed like you had it.
Yeah, I think it's is it Dioner Navarro?
It is Dioner Navarro. He is the other piece. Maybe we should get a graphic with the correct answer popping up.
The Rays all-star catcher gave it away.
Yes, that was it. So Dioner Navarro was the other piece that went in this trade for Randy Johnson. I guess even though Randy didn't work out for the Yankees, it wasn't a bad trade for the team to make. Halsey really didn't have much of a career with Arizona. Dioner Navarro didn't even make his major league debut with the team. Didn't even make a major league appearance with the team. And then, of course, Javier Vasquez kind of fizzled with Arizona, then found some more success with the White Sox the year after, I believe.
Right?
Yes, and then he ended up coming back in another trade, which could be possibly another trick of the trade down the line. I won't talk about that.
Brad Halsey, I think the Yankee fans remember him best for starting the Jeter dove in the stands game.
He did. Wow. He did.
Which I attended. I was in the building that night.
Unnecessary dive into the stands.
He was. I don't think he intentionally dove in the stands. I think he was running and couldn't stop, and momentum took him over the stands.
Yep.
It's quite athleticism. You run fast, it's hard to stop.
It was an unnecessary dive into the stands.
I'm sure he wanted to dive and absolutely hit his face on a chair and hurt himself. There's one thing I know about Derek Jeter is he just didn't want to play baseball. He was like, I want to hurt myself.
A bunch of those plays that are a little over legend sized or whatever you want to call it. A little over.
When you're a legend, you have legend sized plays.
The flip play to Giambi was another play that didn't need to be made. The ball would have beat him there anyway.
I mean, that's not true, but I mean, if we wanted. I mean, listen, you're also a guy who thinks Yoan Santana threw a no-hitter, so I know your eyes, you have the glasses on.
Oh, my God. You really threw that out 2 minutes ago.
He did throw a no-hitter. If it's in the scorebook, it's a no-hitter.
Oh,
one-hitter. Listen, I'll tell you what, we could keep talking no-hitter, no-hitter, Derek Jeter diving into the stands, but I'm about to dive into my couch right now because we want to thank you again for joining us tonight. Again, this was our 5th episode. Guys, can you believe episode 5 already? Man, this season's flying and it's going to be over before we know it. But again, thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. It was a fun time. Chat lit as always. Joe, any last remarks?
Mr. November would have been Mr. Out if he was in any other ballpark.
Cool. The Diamondbacks got to play the same. They played in the same park that night, so I don't really know what the point of that was. But you can keep embarrassing yourself if you want.
World Series.
Well, it wanted to be because games got played in October, November in Yankee Stadium, not so much in Shea.
The sexual.
Good night, everybody.
The sexual tension between Tom and Joe could be more prevalent. I love this show, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Corey, take us home, bud.
Yeah, listen, thank you again, everyone, for joining. And again, if you want to get some more Joe and Tom sexual tension, a comment in the chat early in the show said, "What's your OnlyFans?" Join us on ESB After Hours, Thursday nights at midnight. Joe and Tom are the only ones running that show. But again, thank you again, everyone. Take care. See you next Monday.
Take care, everybody.